and welcome to this week's homecoming episode of Pacific Indians Chatter. Busy week across Pacific High School athletics with all of the different events taking place for homecoming. First, let's start with our Riverbend Roundup. Jumping out at Riverbend, the cross-country team made the trek to Owensville for the meet this week. The boys' side of things, Landon Harrison came in 8th place for the Indians. On the girls' side of things, Kylie Vaughn, 8th place, Macy Crecelius, 9th place, and Brooklyn Godfrey in 10th place for the cross-country Indians. They have their conference meet coming up on Monday of this week, and that will wrap up the middle school season, and the high school will continue on towards districts. On to the football side of things at Riverbend. The football team wrapped up their season at Owensville with 2 big wins. 7th grade picked up a win, and the 8th grade picked up a win that night at Owensville to finish up the Indians' middle school football season. On to the hardwood, the 7th grade girls traveled to the St. James tournament this week, where they came out victorious in round 1 with a big win over the St. Clair Bulldogs. In the semis, they dropped a very tough game to the Sullivan Eagles, but responded on Thursday night in the 3rd place game, trailing by 10 at halftime to the Dutchmen, come back and pick up a big win, 21-20, to secure 3rd place for the Lady Indians in the St. James tournament. Moving over to the 8th grade girls side of things, the Indians opened their tournament with Union, picking up a 30-15 win over the Lady Wildcats. Maggie Rombach led the Indians with 15 points. On Tuesday night, they met an Owensville team at Owensville in a very tough game that came down all the way to the very end. Owensville eventually pulling away, picking up the win 24-17 over the Lady Indians. The 3rd place matchup saw the Lady Indians take on the St. James Tigers. And the Lady Tigers are a pretty solid team. They've only lost 1 game their whole entire time in middle school, and that came the night prior to this game. The Indians and the Tigers were tied late in the 3rd quarter at 13 before the St. James Tigers ultimately were able to pull away and secure the victory. The 8th grade Lady Indians dropped that one and moved their record to 8-5. The middle school girls still have 2 weeks left in their season. 5 games, 4 of which are at home. So if you're looking to catch a little bit of basketball, get you ready for the winter season of basketball, stop by Riverbend. As the Lady Indians are home on Monday, they make a trip to St. James Tuesday, and then are back home again Thursday of this upcoming week. Now let's go to 425 Indian Warpath Drive to catch up on all of this week's homecoming festivities. First, starting with the Powder Puff football game, saw the seniors take on the juniors in a long-standing rivalry. The seniors came out on top in this one, 7-0. The lone touchdown came when Trinity Douglas took a 30-yard jet sweep around the corner and found the end zone for the seniors. McKenna Lay capped off the extra point attempt with a 2-yard touchdown conversion run. The Indians' defense for the seniors had 3 interceptions on the night, and the juniors also had 2 interceptions of their own. It was a very good defensive battle going back and forth. Came down to some punts and field position, and one big play ultimately is what turned the tide for the seniors. Now let's move on to the rest of our homecoming week. The softball team wrapped up their season this week. They took on a very good Rockwood Summit team on Monday in a regular season game. They dropped that one 19-9. Ashlyn Young had 2 hits for the Indians. Milo Miller had 2 hits for the Indians. The Indians kind of spread some hits around. The pitching had a little bit of a rough go against a very good Summit team, and the Indians dropped that one 19-9. On Tuesday night, they made a trip to wrap up their regular season to Afton, and the Indians picked up a big 19-1 victory. Every starter in the lineup for the Indians had at least 1 hit in this one, as they rattled off 18 hits as a team. That put their record at 7-19 heading into the district game on Thursday. The JV squad wrapped up their season with a 0-0 tie with Rockwood Summit on Monday night. Now on to the varsity district game against Washington. The Indians made the trip to Washington for the first round in the 3-6 matchup. Obviously, those that know softball know Washington has had a very good team for a decent while now, including state championships just recently. The Indians dropped this one 11-0 to finish up their season, and their record sits at 7-20 in the year. Now let's check in on cross country. Cross country had the Owensville Invitational this week, where the girls picked up the win at the Owensville Invitational. The medalists for the girls: Aiden Lawler 5th place, Maddie Rush 8th, Grace Dreyer 9th, Michaela Sano 11th, Dixie Mayfield 14th, Sarah Halcomb 24th, Ruby Jones 25th. The Lady Indians with another strong performance, picking up another title in an event. On the boys' side of things, Ben Smith came in 2nd, Dax Harrison 4th, Lucas Godfrey 6th. Now let's look at the JV. In the JV race, Frankie Bell was 7th, and Gavin Moore finished 10th for the boys in the JV side of things. This week is conference for cross country, and then they push forward into districts as they make a prep for a playoff run with some of their teams and individuals. So good luck to all of them with conference this week. Now let's move over to the football side of things. The football team had their homecoming game Friday night against the Bearcats of Herman. The homecoming game is always kind of fun. We start off with the parade, obviously, at 2:30, and then we go into the tailgate, the Hall of Fame. Food trucks are brought in, everything. A lot of kind of extra stuff going on. It kind of makes it hard to focus sometimes for the kids, but not the case for the Indians in this one, as they were ready to go from the start, taking care of Herman 42-14. On the night for the Indians, they were led by some big performances from a few different seniors. For the Indians in the box score line, it was 7-7 after the first quarter. Then the Indians managed to take a 21-14 lead into halftime, and that would be all the scoring the Bearcats would do, as the finish was 42-14. For the Indians, rushing the ball, Brock McKinney had 11 carries for 129 yards. Seth Stack was 7 for 35, and Colton Kasu 3 for 14. Seth was 6 for 8 through the air for 77 yards with 3 touchdown passes. Leo Fiedler had 2 catches for 17 yards, including a touchdown catch. Gavin Hacks had 3 catches for 38 yards, and Brock Webb with 1 catch for 22 yards. On the defensive side, Gavin Hacks had an interception, Lucas McKinney with an interception, and Tyson Mars had a pick 6 for the Indians. The Indians now travel to St. James to finish off their regular season. I'm looking at the standings now. It looks like the Indians are pretty much locked into the 5 seed of the district. I think I can't say for sure yet, but it looks like Union will be who they match up with. There is a possibility it could be Westminster. Just depends on how the last week of the season goes for both of those schools. So we will keep an eye on that, and we will have a district opponent probably right after Friday night. It looks like both teams play on Friday night. Yes, they do. So we should know Saturday morning who we're going to face in the districts. It looks like the Indians will be on the road in the first round and probably for the foreseeable future of the playoff run. On to the soccer side of things for the Indians. The Indians had a busy week this week. They had Farmington St. Paul Lutheran, who they were able to beat 9-0 in that one on, I believe, senior night. For the Indians, leading the way in this one, Aiden Downing had 2 goals. Carter Clunn had a goal. Gage Clark had a goal. Lucas Tennyson had 3 goals, a hat trick. And then 2 nights later, they played a very good Lutheran St. Charles team, and they dropped that one 2-0. So the Indians have Lutheran South next week, and they have one more game at Union in a conference matchup. They close out their season on the 27th with Windsor, at Windsor, and then we will find out districts seeding. If I was to guess, looking at it, looks like a 2 or 3 seed is definitely in the mix for the Indians, with the 1 seed being a possibility as well. It just kind of comes down to how some people decide to vote some things. On to volleyball. The girls' volleyball team, I know their district is this week. It is Tuesday. If you're looking for a road trip, they certainly have one as they are going to Camdenton for their district to play Lebanon in a 4-5 seed matchup. If they were to win that on Tuesday, they will go right back to Camdenton on Thursday. A nice little 3-hour bus ride for the Indians as they look to make them run through districts. This week, though, they had St. Clair at home for their homecoming and senior night, where they picked up a big 3-set win over the Lady Bulldogs of St. Clair. And if I had my co-host Scott Brown with me for this one, he would probably be on a rant about Misha and these long trips that these teams have to make just for district games. 3 hours, to me, seems like a pretty excessive drive, especially when there could be 3 trips involved to win the whole thing. And you got to wonder at some point when you're logging all those miles and the other teams are not, it's going to certainly affect you at some point in time. So hopefully the girls can kind of play through that and keep up the good work as their season continues. Now it's time for Performance of the Week. My performance of the week this week goes to everybody that helped make homecoming what it was. Such a great event. So all the hard work from the students and staff and other individuals in the community, thank you for your hard work to put on homecoming, and you are the performance of the week. As we wrap up our homecoming edition of Pacific Indians Chatter, let's just talk about a little bit about all the people that make this happen and all the hard work it takes to accomplish a homecoming parade. You know, coordinating with the city to have the streets blocked off, from getting all the floats set up and all the other organizations joining in on the homecoming parade. This is all school-based. All those floats that you saw are all school-based, which to me is pretty impressive because it was a very long parade. The parade starts at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I mean, it was absolutely jam-packed on the streets. St. Bridget's also gets out on a half day and kind of joins along with the homecoming festivities, which I think is awesome to see. Again, like I said, you don't get this in other big towns and things like that. This is kind of a smaller community type thing where you see the people just show up. They show up at the game. They show up at all the other events. So, again, I'd just like to thank all those people that kind of make this possible for us, because it is a lot of fun at the end of the day. Is it stressful sometimes for coaches and the others that are in charge of organizations trying to get their trailers and floats and all that stuff set up? Yes, it is. Very much. But at the end of the day, once it is going and having fun with all the kids, it's a great time. So I'd like to thank all of them that make that possible. I know Stuco does a lot, and they also decorate the gym. Homecoming dance was a success. I'd like to give a shout out to our king and queen, Colton Kasuth and McKenna Lay. Congratulations to them on picking up those honors at homecoming. And again, just a great week, great events. Good job by everybody involved. And now we look to finish up the fall sports season strong with another week or two left before playoffs begin. And then we roll right into winter sports, which will be basketball and wrestling on the boys and girls side of things. So this is going to stay a busy, busy time here at Pacific High School as we finish up our fall seasons. Until next week, keep up the chatter.